What if one of the most profound pieces of advice, perfectly aligned with the latest discoveries in neuroscience, did not originate from a laboratory, not from a university, not from a psychologist, but from an illiterate man, born in a barren desert, long before humanity had even glimpsed the first sparks of modern science? An era that knew nothing of fMRI scans, neurotransmitters, or the speed of emotional reactions. Yet, his words still echo today. Strangely enough, they address a problem that has never faded through history: anger. Think back to the last time you were furious. The last message you almost sent, but deleted. Or that final word you wish you could take back. In those moments, a precise, invisible race unfolds inside your brain. A race between impulsive reaction and mindful awareness. A race that scientists have only begun to fully map within the last few decades. So, how did that man know it, long before anyone else? That is what we are about to uncover. Imagine arriving home after a long, draining day. You are exhausted, overwhelmed, carrying the weight of accumulated stress. Then a notification lights up your phone, a message carrying sharp criticism or a hurtful remark. Within a fraction of a second, your heart pounds, your fists clench, and that all-too-familiar sensation surges through you. Anger. In that split second, reacting immediately feels logical, even necessary. But neuroscientists tell a very different story about what happens next. When anger erupts, the amygdala, the brain's fear and emotional center, seizes control in just 0.2 seconds, completely bypassing rational thought. Meanwhile, the prefrontal cortex, the region responsible for planning and self-control, requires an additional 4 to 6 seconds just to catch up and process the situation. This tiny gap is what researchers call the window of opportunity. Just 6 seconds. That is all your brain needs to break the cycle of impulse and reclaim command over your decision. It is this exact pause that most people reflect on, too late, saying, "If only I had waited just a moment, I wouldn't have regretted it." But the deeper question lingers. Could anyone have truly grasped the value of those 6 seconds, 14 centuries before EEG machines were even conceived? To answer that, we must rewind time by over 1,400 years. To a city that knew nothing of laboratories, universities, or brain mapping devices. There, in the heart of the Arabian Peninsula, a man approached the Prophet Muhammad and said simply, "Advise me." He wanted a short, memorable precept, something he could hold on to in moments of distress. The response was swift and absolute. "Do not get angry." But the man pressed for more. So the Prophet repeated it. Then for a third time, he gave the same answer. 3 consecutive times, the advice remained unchanged: do not get angry. This historical exchange is recorded in the vast historical anthology known as Sahih al-Bukhari, one of the most rigorously verified and authenticated collections in Arab heritage, held by historians in the highest regard for its precise chain of narration. At first glance, the phrase seems overly simple, almost obvious. But with deeper reflection, a more intricate question emerges. Was the goal to completely suppress the feeling of anger? That would be impossible. Anger is a deeply ingrained human instinct. So perhaps the focus was not on the feeling itself, but on what happens immediately after that feeling arises. That critical split second between sensing the rage and acting upon it. The very same moment that scientists would spend centuries searching for, unaware that it had already been distilled into this ancient, powerful advice. In 2011, Psychologist Ethan Kross and his team at the University of Michigan published a groundbreaking study in the Journal of Social Psychological and Personality Science. They asked participants to recall a memory that sparked their anger. Then they instructed them to reimagine the scene from the perspective of a neutral observer, as if watching the event unfold from a distance. The results were striking. Those who adopted this mental distance became significantly less aggressive, more capable of regulating their emotions, with their anger levels dropping by over 30%. The anger didn't vanish entirely. They simply created a brief, intentional gap between the feeling and the reaction. This finding has been replicated in numerous subsequent studies at prestigious institutions like Stanford and Harvard. The consistent conclusion: people with high emotional regulation are not those who never feel anger. They are those who pause for a moment before acting. A very short moment. Often, just 6 seconds. In fact, this exact time frame has been woven into modern professional training programs. Elite organizations, including branches of the U.S. military and top corporate negotiation teams, now teach specialized breathing and cognitive delay techniques to deliberately extend reaction time to those crucial 6 seconds before any high-stakes decision is made. Just 6 seconds that separate impulse from choice, regret from inner peace. And this is precisely what advanced neuroimaging confirms today. Delaying your response for just a few moments allows the prefrontal cortex to catch up to the amygdala, restoring balance and reason to your actions. So the question stands: could Muhammad have known about this intricate neurological race before the laboratories of the 21st century ever revealed it? 14 centuries stand between that advice, recorded by al-Bukhari on the authority of Abu Huraira, and the cutting-edge neuroscience labs of today. Over those centuries, civilizations have crumbled and risen. Technology has advanced beyond imagination. Humans have unlocked the secrets of the cosmos. But humanity itself? It has barely changed. We still get angry. We still act impulsively. We still utter words we desperately wish we could unsay. And perhaps that is precisely why those two words from such a distant past remain alive in our consciousness today. Not because they are intricate, but because they address a problem that has never vanished. A challenge faced by every human being, across every culture, in every single era. Today, our most sophisticated instruments confirm that delaying a reaction by a mere 4 to 6 seconds is enough to avoid decisions that can destroy relationships, careers, or even entire lives. Researchers from the University of Michigan and Stanford reinforce that mental distance is the master key to self-control. So, between a scientifically proven fact and a historical text recorded 1,400 years ago, the question is no longer merely, did Muhammad say it? The question now shifts to something far more profound, and far more unsettling for the rational modern Western mind. With what kind of intellect could an illiterate man in the Arabian desert, long before the invention of the first brain activity scanner, have perceived what our laboratories have only just discovered? We leave that answer to each viewer. Yet, the undeniable, scientifically verified truth remains. No matter how far science advances, and no matter how complex its instruments become, the ultimate antidote to rage is still perfectly encapsulated in that brief, profound command, uttered over 1,400 years ago. Do not get angry.